Welcome to Talking with Tatum. I'm Barry Tatum, your host, and what we try to do on our show is interview folks that serve the people of Wilson County in some capacity or another, or who have had a interesting life. We've got somebody today who meets both of those criterias, and we have Colonel Zabrina Seay. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Judge Howard. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's a delight, and been meaning to have you on for a while. I'm glad we've been able to do this.
Yes, sir.
And but one of the things that I always like to start off, of course, you're the director of our Veterans Affairs Office
Yes,
here
sir.
in Wilson County. You're also a veteran, an
Yes,
officer
sir.
from the United States Army.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit about where Colonel C grew up,
Oh.
and how did you get to where you are today?
What happened there? So
But you got 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
No, take as long as you need.
Well, once a Blue Devil, always Blue Devil, right? Graduated Lebanon High School in 90, went to Xavier University in New Orleans on an academic scholarship. While I was there, I was going to register for my second semester, and I saw these guys in these uniforms, right? I was like, hey, my dad's in the Army. They were like, oh, really? You should come sign up for something. We can get you a scholarship. I said, oh, I don't need it. I'm here on an academic
Yeah.
scholarship. They're like, oh, okay, that's fine. So then just sign up and take a class. So I signed up for
ROTC.
ROTC just to take a lab,
Yeah.
to see. And I enjoyed it. I loved it. I had a good time. And then they were like, well, you're doing really well in this. You should apply for the scholarship. Once again, I said, oh, I don't need it. I have an academic scholarship. And then I listened to what we would call in the military the barracks lawyers, but it was the dorm lawyers. Hey, you should get it, because if you get that, then you'll get the money back from however, whatever's left from it. Hey, why not?
Sounds too good to be true.
Sounds too good to be true to a broke college student, right? So I did it, got it. I got a 3-year ROTC scholarship. And then it was probably about a month or so after that fall semester of my sophomore year started, and I went back and I was like, hey, I think I'm supposed to get some money back because I have 2 scholarships now. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
He said, oh, baby, this is a private school, right? So since you had a full scholarship, we just took your academic scholarship and gave it to
Yeah. Congratulations.
Congratulations, you're in the Army now.
We were going to tell you. Yeah.
So honestly, that's how I ended up in the military, because my parents couldn't afford to pay for me to go to there. It's a private school. They couldn't afford to pay for that. So
Really good school.
very good, but they couldn't afford it. So it was either keep the ROTC scholarship or, do something else. So as much as I admire my family, my father, my uncle, my aunt, my brother, everybody's in the military, that I wasn't necessarily sure that was, the route I was going to go. But as luck would have it, that's what happened. And that's how I ended up in the military. I graduated from Xavier. I did my ROTC at Tulane University.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So I was commissioned there.
Not that far.
No, just,
Yeah.
a trolley ride away. Did that first duty station, you'd never guess. Hawaii.
Oh, I was going to say Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Hawaii.
Hawaii. It was amazing. You would think the weather, everything was beautiful. However, we stayed in the field all the time. So you enjoyed it when you could. But kind of from there, kind of bounced all over. Had some overseas tours. I spent a total of 4 years in Korea. I've been to Kuwait, Iraq, Afghanistan, several other places. But I had a great career. Some things I don't wish to do again, but overall I found some and met and still keep in touch with some wonderful people that I consider my family as well, and enjoyed it.
And folks from all different backgrounds. And
Yes,
all
sir.
different walks of life.
Absolutely.
Now you're commissioned when you graduate, and you're commissioned.
Yes, sir.
You're
Second lieutenant.
Grand
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you spent how many years?
20 years.
So you got in your 20 and retired as a.
I retired technically as a lieutenant colonel. I was promotable, but I couldn't keep it because if you get promoted, you have to have 2 years. But so, as I was telling you a little bit earlier, I got diagnosed,
Right.
got sick while I was on my last deployment, got medevac back, and ended up having to retire. But I still met my 20-year retirement
Yeah.
from. from
And
that.
but we call you Colonel.
Yes, sir.
And that would have been in what year?
2014.
Okay.
December of 2014. December 17th,
So, so you've
2014.
got it down to the T.
Yes, sir.
And then I guess you see that with a lot of the veterans
Yes,
you
sir.
work with. They can tell you the years,
Yes, sir.
months, days, weeks, sometimes
Yes,
hours.
sir.
You've seen a lot of the world:
Yes,
Hawaii,
sir.
Korea, Afghanistan, Iraq. Don't know that the latter two would be particularly attractive to retire, but you came home.
I came home.
And ever any desire to, after all you've seen of the world, to retire to some other location?
Well, I considered actually retiring and working in Korea.
Okay.
I love the food. I love the location because you're an hour away from Japan, an hour away. At that time, China was okay to go into. Just different locations, you could get to different places pretty quickly. And the work there is what I was used to. I was used to that. But other than that, no, home was always
But
it was always come back,
okay.
come back to Tennessee. My family's here.
Yeah.
Great place to raise children. And of course, I had my Zoe and Zion. And at that time they were young.
Yeah.
So great place to raise children, have them around their grandparents. And I wanted to continue to serve though,
Yeah.
So I know what was here when I left.
Right.
I'll tell you something. So when I came back, I was like, okay, now we got to work on some things here because where we just came from, my kids have access to everything.
Mhm.
And so it was a bit of a step back
Yeah.
when we came home because, coming from living on a military base and literally MWR, so they had access to rec rooms, gyms, all the things that, kids need. And coming here, then it was Jimmy Fluid.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I was able to afford that, but I know some people couldn't. So, that was probably one of the biggest things we had, but the school systems were great.
Mhm.
So yeah, always coming back home.
And the kids go to school.
Yes, sir. So Zion's at Friendship. Oh my goodness. And he started out at Byers Dowdy
Mm-hmm.
and then transitioned to Friendship. Zoe started out at actually McLean Christian.
Right.
Is that still open? I don't even think that's still open, is it?
It may be under a different name.
Okay, so she started at McLean Christian. We left,
Mm-hmm.
came back, and then she went to Byers Dowdy as well. And then ended up graduating from Wilson Central.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you came back here, and one of the things I wanted to ask you, when you go into the military,
Yes.
you have an MOS,
Mhm.
some specialty. And in your units that you served in, what areas were you in? Infantry, armor, artillery, personnel, logistics, what?
So funny. So I was a 90 Alpha, which is a multifunctional logistician. Probably only in a couple of my duty stations did I serve in that capacity. Let's see. I was in Hawaii. I was a platoon leader and a S4, which is logistics. And then I ended up being a TAC and a senior TAC at OCS, which is Officer Candidate School at Fort Benning. While there, I was the only female TAC in Alpha Company, and then I ended up becoming the very first female commander in Alpha 111. That's an infantry battalion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a overall training battalion, but it's still an infantry battalion. Very first, and then after that, I became the XO of the battalion. So it was a really cool thing to do. And afterwards, I did planning. I did strategic planning. I did operations. I did some different things,
Touching on a lot of areas, but that's the thing about the military.
Yes, sir.
It covers so many areas.
So many different areas. And, so it's all depending on how fortunate, or some people may say unfortunate you are. I tended to sometimes always be the only female in a lot of the places I was at. And that could be good and not so good at times, but it was okay. I made it through that. But I enjoyed my time commanding. I was an XO. I even did some work with the National Guard in Alabama. I was active duty, but I worked with the National Guard for 2 years there. And then ended up being an aide and an exec for the CG there. So we traveled a lot and did a lot of things. So I was blessed.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I was blessed. God blessed me with the right people in the right places, and to progress like I did. God was blessed to do those things. I
Well,
was blessed to do this.
it sounds like it, and just to hear your voice, you recognize that for a little girl growing up in Lebanon, Tennessee, you've seen far more of the world and had a ton of life experiences that a lot of people wouldn't experience in a half a dozen lifetimes.
Oh, yes, sir. And if I could, some of the stuff I could tell, you'd be like, oh, maybe off camera. We'll have that conversation,
Well,
but
we'll talk about that maybe on the nighttime version of our show. But of course, coming back to Wilson County, you become the director of Veterans Affairs here, Veteran Services,
yes, sir.
and we've had that office for a long time.
Yes, sir.
Nick Stewart was a
Yes, sir.
veterans officer for years. Bernie Ash,
Yes, sir.
who we lost a few years ago,
Yes,
is,
sir.
and I guess you're the successor to Mayor Ash. Was he?
No, actually, Michael McPherson was
I-
after
Yes,
Mayor. Yes. Mm-hmm.
but you've been there for 6 years, five
Yes,
and a half, 6 years.
October of 2019.
And we
Yes, sir.
I shouldn't say we, you have a fantastic office up there and a sizable staff,
Yes,
and
sir.
it's attached to the Wilson County Veterans Museum.
Yes, sir.
But for somebody who's not familiar, maybe they served in branch of service sometime back, and they've relocated to Wilson County, moved in or some country. What do you see that needs of veterans who have moved into the county? What kind of questions do they have? What kind of services do y'all provide? I know I've sent folks over to your office
Yes, sir.
from time to time with various issues. What do y'all serve in your office?
Yes, sir. So one of the biggest things is we hear from a lot of people, I didn't even know you were there.
Mm-hmm.
So we've put markings on the walls outside for the museum and also for the Veteran Service Office. We have that marquee that's up now outside on the street that has VSO inside. We're just trying to get it out that we're there. But what we do is we are advocates for our veterans and their eligible dependents to the VA. And that's for everything. That's for, getting them registered for health care, signing them up and doing their compensation and pension claims. We do education, Champ VA, discharge upgrades. I don't even know if I should say this on here, but I'm going to.
Do it.
So we have the ability. We can do POAs and we can do wills, but we limit that to veterans, right? Just so that we're not overwhelmed with that. But a lot of times we'll have a family member that needs to do a POA for the veteran so that we can so they can help them file their claims and do those things like that. So we have a lot of things that we can do in our office. We help get these have you ever heard of the CapTel phones for our veterans that have the hearing deficiencies? We can order them and get those phones for them for free, but they'll have to have internet service at their houses. But what it does, it reads back to
Transcribes the words.
Yes, sir, it does.
Written.
It has a big screen on it, and it'll read back to the veteran whatever it is. So then they can just respond versus trying to listen or strain with that.
What about hearing aids?
Hearing aids, we send them, to the VA to do that. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, we do. We also intervene when we need to. We'll contact a patient advocate if they come to us and say, hey, we're having problems at the VA, either getting appointments or, with providers not doing, we'll write to the or contact the patient advocates to make sure that they're aware of what the veteran is going through. I will tell you that we're blessed right here to have the executive director of Tennessee Valley Healthcare Services. He lives right here in Wilson County, Mr. Dan Deeker. He's amazing. If we need anything, he helps us out with everything that we need. But he lives right here in Wilson County with us as well.
And occasionally you'll see something in the news where somebody who served, I guess World War II veterans are becoming fewer and fewer, but veteran who served in Vietnam, Korea, World War II,
Yes,
maybe didn't get a medal,
Yes, sir.
but they're eligible for it. You've helped veterans receive those.
We can request that for them if that's something that's missing off, if they earn it, if it's something that's missing off their DD 214. Yes, sir, we can help with that. We do it's National Personnel Records Center. We can do a request for them to get that.
And if a person is curious about where their dad served, say the dad or granddad passed away or grandmother
Yes, sir.
Passed away, what can you provide to a person who's not the veteran themselves as to find out hey, where was my dad stationed? Where was my mom
Yes, sir. So we have that a lot.
stationed?
But what we have to have is full name,
Mhm.
birthday, and social security number,
Yeah.
because that's how they research in National Personnel Record Center. So if we have those things, we can find whatever is in the system for them. We can request that for them.
Well, having been deployed yourself
Yes, sir.
and fairly recently, we've got a lot of veterans who have seen some harsh things in
Mhm.
Iraq and Afghanistan over the years,
Yes, sir.
and some other hot spots in the world. I know we've got an active American Legion, VFW club, several other veterans.
Yes, sir. So
Pete Norman, y'all work with them?
we do. So we have two American Legions. We have one here, American Legion Post 5015. Chris Beadle is now the commander of that. That's here in Lebanon, and we meet on the. So I got to go through. That's the second Monday of the month out at the Veterans Building. And then we have the other American Legion Post 281. That's in Mount Juliet. They meet on the second Tuesday of the month, Monday, Tuesday, and they meet in Mount Juliet. They're just changing their location this month. So they used to meet in the I think it's the senior center. I know where it is, right off the Division Road, right? They used to meet in senior center, but they're changing their location this month. VFW, that's the commander is Bill Moss. We meet on the third Monday at the Veterans Center. We have VVA, and the president is Mike Meyer. That's the first Monday at the veteran. We also have the AVVA it's the auxiliary. So if you don't qualify to be in the Vietnam Veterans membership, then you can become a member of the AVVA. Meet same night, same time.
Yeah.
What did I do? So AVVA. DAV Chapter 3, we actually meet in Hermitage on the third Saturday of the month at the Golden Corral at 10 o'clock. Something else. So, and then we have many other organizations. So we have Wilson Warriors. You know about Wilson Warriors, and our president and our chairman is Terry Ash. Wilson Warriors also is what our No Vet Left Behind program falls under as 501c3. And then you have the Concerned Citizens of Wilson County. That's Miss Betty Tapley. I think I hit everyone. I think so.
Well, we can get a list of those and put them up on our screen as far as contacts. And
brought it with me.
Be good to have on.
I'll give it to you.
But issues that veterans have now.
Yes, sir.
Coming back, mental health, a lot of
number one,
a lot of traumatic brain injury, homelessness, and some drug addiction.
Yes, sir.
Basically self-medicating for issues.
Yes, sir.
What are those? You said those are number one issues, big issues that we're having. What can general public do to offer support either to the Veterans Affairs Office or to any one of those organizations you work with?
Yes, sir. So I would say if you know of a veteran that's in need of anything, please send them to our office, right? That's where I call us the power projection platform, right? One-stop shopping, because if they come to see us, then we can get them to the right resources. We see many unhoused veterans, and many of them are unhoused because they come back with mental health issues, right? And then from that mental health issue, if it was or was not properly dealt with while they were in service or when they came back, a lot of them do turn to some type of addiction, whether it's alcohol or any other substance abuse, right? So we can get them, if they want to. We've sent many from our office straight to, or taken them actually to Murfreesboro. So we have to take them to the walk-in clinic, to the urgent care clinic, and then try to get them admitted or into the day program. But there are many resources out there that we can use. I spoke with Pruitt, I think that's his last name, at the PIC Center. Do you know what I'm talking about? Right over here where it's
Can't think of the name of it.
But right, so I spoke with him the other day, and we're looking at how it may be possible to even, refer some of our veterans there to the PIC Center that are not inside the justice system, trying to get them before they get there, right? But a lot of referrals come to us from Compassionate Hands. Some people just walk in, or we'll get a call and say, hey, we heard
Yeah.
that you help veterans. Can we come see you? So they'll come and see us. But that mental health is a huge problem. But I think mental health is the core. That's the root problem that leads into the home unhoused veterans. It leads into the addiction. It leads into the becoming part of the justice system because you're out there maybe violent or having a breakdown and they not know. One of the things we're looking at is, and I didn't bring my person here and I meant to, we have a card that we're making now that we're going to provide to our veterans that do have a service connection for PTSD that they can have in their pocket. So if something happens, they can provide that to either the law enforcement or whomever. And then that may not be why they're having whatever they're going through, but just in case, if that's a reason, they'll be able to provide.
Well,
that
a first responder would
Yes,
certainly benefit from knowing that.
Yes, sir.
Because it gives them an opportunity to know what direction.
Yes, sir.
Of course, you're located up on East Main Street. What's the physical address?
304 East Main Street. We are there with our office and also the museum. And outside the museum, we have that plaza, our Veterans Plaza out there, which is amazing. And we have all the walls, and it costs $100 to put your name on the wall or put your family member's name on the wall if you want. Now, we'll tell you, we're going to have to probably go up on that because our God has gone up on that. And yeah, inflation, everything's going up. But what we do is we get them in blocks because he charges us to come out, so it's a lot. So we try to have at least 10 names before we call him out to put the names on there. But it's a nice treat for the family members to come out and be able to see either their name or their family member's name on the wall. We're gonna have to add a couple of new walls. We're getting full on some of them up there, but our Veterans Plaza is amazing. And then if you go inside the museum, I will put that museum up against any museum around the state of Tennessee. The helicopter is amazing. I mean, but in the interactive portion of it and just the artifacts that are in there are amazing. Linda does a great job of keeping things in there and rotating them out. And of course, we go from the beginning all the way to now, I guess technically to Afghanistan was our last conflict. But it's amazing the things that are in there. And I'd love to see that.
305 East Main Street.
304.
304.
304 East Main Street, 615-444-2460.
That's the number.
That's the phone number. That's the main line number. And I'll tell you, we get fussed at all the time. Even for the last 2 days, because our phone lines are on the internet.
Right.
And if anything happens to the internet, they go down or they go to do not disturb, and people will call and we can't get you.
No, you mentioned something on there about veterans dependents who might be eligible.
Yes, sir.
What if you say you're a child?
Yes, sir.
Children your age, grandchildren my age, or grandchildren the ages that I have, and they see that their parent, mom or dad, grandparent, grandma, and granddad are struggling, knowing that they're a veteran. What would be the process? Does the veteran themselves need to come, or can an individual come in and say, I have a family member who's a relative and these are some concerns. Do you advise them about what their options are?
So both are possible. The family member can come in, but ultimately, if the veteran is competent, they have to agree. Right. So, and that sometimes is an issue because the veteran may not want to. We have many veterans. So for instance, Wilson County, I think they have us right at about 9,500 veterans. But we all know that those are only the veterans that are in the VA system. Right. So I would probably tell you we probably have closer to 12, maybe 13,000 veterans in the county alone. But if that veteran does not want to or does not seek VA assistance on any kind, that's healthcare compensation or anything, we can't account for them. I had a wife call me probably 4 times, husband, Vietnam veteran, suffering from all the presumptive contentions, which are disabilities that the VA has said, yes, if you were in this location, it is directly associated with, at that time, your exposure to Agent Orange. No. No. He says no. Every time he'll say no, I won't do it.
Okay.
I don't want any part of it. So the veteran, if they're competent, they have to agree.
But if you have somebody out there that's saying, I'm looking for some answers, and my loved one is struggling on that, they can come to
They
you.
need to come call whichever
They can
one.
find out what
Yes, sir.
resources
What the
are available,
resources
what the
are.
decisions ultimately are.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anything else you want to talk about with what y'all do up at the Veterans Office? We know we've hit the high spot.
No, yes, but let's talk about the major one, and it's the one that you helped us with last year. We had our we had our inaugural Veterans Benefit Ball, and thank you so much for those cheesecakes. They brought in some nice money for. Thank you so much, and we're gonna do it again on the 1st of November. So be ready, and I hope I will, and hopefully you can attend this year. But our Know That Left Behind program came from basically some of the things that you're talking about. We saw, and especially during COVID, the unhoused veterans, right? And a lot of times those veterans can't go to these facilities and different things like that because they suffer from mental health, or they're taking some type of medication that those facilities don't allow them to come into. So if they're suffering from bipolar and those types of schizophrenia and things like that, or if they're taking opioids and things, a lot of times the facilities. Well, not even the halfway houses, but the unhoused veterans that are going to the, what do you call it? The shelter. That's it. I told you I have to look for words. Sometimes the shelters won't allow them to come in either with the medication or with, those types of diagnoses. And then also some of them have pets, right? Because a lot of us, our furry four-legged friends are our best friends, and that's who we can confide in, right?
Informal service animals.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. So seeing that, we were like, okay, what can we do? Because you have Operation Stand Down that can provide hotels sometimes, but nobody else was doing that. And we needed it immediately, right? And they're not an immediate type of service. Normally our phone would ring at Friday at 4 or Saturday morning or Saturday night when we needed something right away. So that's kind of where this came from. And so what we do is provide emergent and immediate assistance, and that could be for a hotel room for a week or however long for the veteran and or the family, fuel, food, help with medications, all those things that are immediate and the veteran or the dependent has to have like right away. That's where the No Vet Left Behind came from. That's not funded by anyone other than grants and donations. So it's for the goodness of the people of Wilson County.
And that's what the ball benefited.
And that's what the ball benefited. And I will tell you that Wilson County showed up and showed out with that. Yeah. And I am looking forward to doing again this year, even bigger and better, and being able to do that. But that program in and of itself for our county, even when we went down to the Veterans Day on the Hill, our commissioner, Baker, was telling everybody, all the service officers and everybody that showed up down there about our program. So,
Wilson County.
Yes, sir, what we have in Wilson County. So we're setting the standard.
Is this something that's unique across for the state?
No, sir. We're the only ones that have it.
Wow.
We're the only ones that have that.
Congratulations on that. Good job.
Well, thank you so much for that. But it's for the veterans. I'm a veteran myself. So one day I might need that help.
Well,
I hope not.
But it's good to know that it's helpful.
Yes, sir. But we have that, and we have that available for
it's good to
veterans.
Have people who are interested, who volunteer their time.
Yes, sir.
To help put that event on.
Yes, sir.
And to coordinate that. So
yes, sir.
Kudos to you and them.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Our office, we were proud of that one. Yeah, we're very proud of that. Yes, sir.
Anything else you want to touch on?
I don't know if I just I love my job. I love what I do. I shouldn't even call it a job because you know what? No, seriously, because I sat on the other side of that desk.
Right.
So I get it. And it's something that is very important to me because somebody took care of me when I sat over there.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I owe them that as well. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to continue to serve, but in particular, that less than 1% of our veterans that we have, not only here in Wilson County, but we kind of service a lot of people.
All right. Well, one thing I like to ask our guests is, in wrapping up, is there something, words to live by, advice that you could give to a young person or a person who's maybe in some transition phase of their life about that you've drawn on for inspiration, or maybe that you've learned through your experiences, and words of wisdom? What will we hear from Colonel C?
Colonel C would say, help everyone, regardless of what their background is, regardless of what their situation is, because you don't know what got them there, right? You know the decision they made. You see the decision they made, but you didn't know the options that they had, right?
Yeah.
So I would say help them. If you're if you're in a position to help someone, help them. Servants serve with a servant's heart all the time.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for that.
Yes,
and
sir.
Thank you for the service that you provide.
I thank you so much.
And as a token, I like to give our guests a little commemorative coffee cup. And
I love it.
got a little Minnie Mouse pad and a screen wiper, and no telling what else is in there.
I got you.
All right. And thank you for watching this episode of Talking with Tatum. We've learned about our Veterans Affairs Office. Colonel Zabrina Seay and her staff are ready, willing, and able to help people who are veterans and their family members who are eligible. So give them a call. They're located at 304 East Main Street in Lebanon. And while you're there, you've got a free tour of the Wilson County Veterans Museum.
Yes, sir.
And until next time, I'm Barry Tatum for Talking with Tatum.